Hello everyone, I'm Dakian here with another brief tips video for you. This one is about varnishing. How and why. And maybe when. Well, the when is obvious, it's at the very end of the process. For demonstration purposes, I have a small collection of minis here. I've just painted up 5 various adventuring dudes and some monsters. And I've taken this particular collection because they included a variety of different types of surface. The adventurers have a lot of armor, a lot of reflective stuff. The mummy should be very unreflective on the other hand. And this being should be perhaps somewhere in between, kind of have a sheen to it, but not quite metallic. Anyway, the purpose of priming is twofold. One is to protect the minis from wear and tear when you're handling them, of course. And the other is to provide a sort of unified, consistent look to them. Because quite often when you paint, different paints that you use have different amounts of shine to them. Some are more glossy than others. And you perhaps don't want that. You don't want different parts of your model to look different. You want to unify the look of it a little bit more. And a varnish can help with that. And what I do is that I spray varnish them, and I always give it 2 coats. The reason for this is that the most protective kind of varnish you can use is the gloss varnish, the stuff that makes it really blingy and shiny. However, that is not often the final effect you want. So what I do is that I give a first coat of the gloss varnish, and then a second coat of a matte or a satin varnish, usually. And at the end I will show you exactly what brands I use. Not that's very important, but you know, some people wonder. And as for why gloss varnish is more protective, that's to do with physics and optics and so forth. But I don't know if that I'm actually qualified to explain that fully. But simply put, it's because it covers better. It's the reason that you get more shine from a gloss varnish is that it covers the surface with a very even and smooth surface, and that reflects light better than a more porous or uneven surface. Anyway, I will put on the first layer of gloss varnish, and once that's dried, I will just bring back these models so you can see the difference. And this is the look after the high gloss varnish has been applied. And as you can see, it's way too shiny. This cannot be the final result, but you can hopefully also see that already it has unified the look of the minis. They look more consistent now. The colors look as if they belong together. And yeah. Yeah, for example, this guy cannot be this glossy. This guy, maybe. And I'll take it down a little bit, but not all the way. So let me do another cut and come back with a second layer of varnish applied. Okay, now the second coat is dry, well, mostly dry, and don't know if you can tell, but I've used 3 different kinds of varnishes. The closest to gloss is on this one. This is the Armor Painter Satin. I'm going to show you later. These 3 are painted with my Winsor Newton Satin, which is not as shiny as the Army Painter Satin, and this one is done with the most matte one I have, which is the Winsor Newton matte. Now, you will notice there are a few spots that are shinier where it hasn't dried completely perfect. And some places where simply I don't want the same effect. For example, even though I want these mostly to be satin because that allows the metallic sheen of the armor to shine through better, I don't want the stone bases to be satin. I want those to be dead matte. On the other hand, on this figure, which is mostly matte because it's wrappings, mummy wrappings, I still want the glow of his eyes and these flames to be shiny. So what do? Well, I go in afterwards with various brush-on varnishes, both matte and gloss. So that'll be the next step, and I'll come back after that's done and show you. And there the brush-on primer has dried. And it's not perfect. I mean, there's a few spots here and there that are a little too shiny in the deepest recesses, the deepest folds of this cloak here where it meets the armor. There's a shiny spot that I couldn't get out, but you know, it's very small. So overall, I'm happy with this result. So you might wonder, I sometimes get the question what specific products I use, and I change them every once in a while, but I more or less settled on a few things I use. And can show you directly, the brush-on primers I use are these two. For the gloss, I go with GW's, the Citadel Art Coat, because it's easy to get hold of, and it's a good product. It does what it's supposed to do. For the matte, however, I like to use Army Painter's Anti-Shine. That is the most efficient version of the brush-on varnish I have encountered. Now, for spray varnishes, I'm going to show you a few cans, but we'll have to set up differently for that. So watching it back, I'm aware that I managed to say primer a couple of times in the past few clips where I meant varnish. Just disregard that. I never meant to say primer. I'm not talking about primers at all. It's all varnishes. So here we have some rattle cans with spray varnish. The first one might be difficult for you to get a hold of if you're not living in Scandinavia somewhere. This is just ordinary household varnish that I got at the hardware store. As you can see, it's for painting soccer goals, tire rims, fences, furniture, you know. It's supposed to be used around the house and just on just about anything. Which means this stuff is really tough. It's also cheap. It's much less expensive than the miniature brands of varnish. But you probably can't find this specific brand unless you live in Sweden or a country near there, but you can find something similar. The next two cans here are by Winsor & Newton, and I get these at the local art supply store. Miniatures gaming stores don't carry them. So I have these are the professional cans. They have another series, which I forget what it's called, that have white and green cans. It's not as good. But this stuff, which I suppose is meant for paintings originally, so it's not as tough as this stuff, but it doesn't need to be because it has that tough undercoat anyway. The satin is actually a very good in-between varnish. I use this for most normal models, actually. The matte is, on the other hand, extremely matte. It kills any shine completely. So you cannot use this, for example, over metallics. It's not going to give good results. And behind, we have the only ones I have that are specific to miniatures companies. I have, well, the classic Anti-Shine from Army Painter, which is the matte varnish, and we have the new Aegis Suit Satin Varnish from Army Painter. Now, if I were to order these from shiniest to least shiny, I would say this one is almost a gloss, so it's pretty close to that. Next, I would put the Winsor Newton satin, then the Armor Painter Anti-Shine, because the Anti-Shine is specifically marketed as providing a matte finish but not dulling down metallics, and that's sort of true. It does keep a little bit of that, while this one is the most matte of all. So this is my current lineup of products that I use. Again, what you can get hold of might vary depending on where you live. But, you know, the Armor Painter stuff you can always at least order on the net. So that was my brief little tip video about varnishing. I hope it was somehow useful to you. Please leave any comments you might have. Click the like button if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel, and well, join me for my next regularly scheduled video. Until then, I'm Dakian, and I will see you later.